further ado, I'm so pleased to introduce Cristina Duta, the fourth speaker in today. So Cristina is currently the Intelligent Automation Director for AECOM, responsible for successfully defining and executing business transformation and intelligent automation strategies. Cristina has a broad industry exposure, delivering significant digital transformation programs across telecom, life science, banking, automotive, and manufacturing companies. She's an intelligent automation evangelist and thought leader focused on extending, enriching, and empowering organizations and having a digital mindset for the future of work. Cristina, we're so happy to have you here. The floor is all yours. I'm so excited to see what you have to share today.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Andy. So I say that let's kick it off. I do want to maybe just provide a little bit of an overview on how we are going to spend our 30 minutes together. With that being said, we are going to discuss about digital transformation, as this is the top of our agenda, and we'll be drilling down together into 5 key ideas related to how healthcare organizations can actually redefine their future of work using intelligent automation. How we can identify potential, let's say, challenges to proceed, how we can understand the market demands and the IT environment, how we can define the opportunities, then from there drive a digital transformation strategy and a governance model. Afterwards, we will be focusing on showing how to start this journey, what to keep an eye on, and what is the actual roadmap that you can put in place for intelligent automation in healthcare. Of course, we are, as Andy mentioned, we are going to end up our session with a Q&A for a couple of minutes. Let me set the context first, because we are all aware that COVID-19 has actually turned out most industries, I would say, upside down, and healthcare is no exception. And however, this became a catalyst for digital transformation. It drove new expectations for the post-pandemic era. This was not easy because we all know that healthcare organizations are under constant pressure to actually meet compliance, budgetary costs, information access. We're talking about increasing patient care and so on. But all these changes are here to stay. And these are not only happening, I would say, in a customer or a patient engagement space. Across this new landscape, companies are actually embracing emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, and others forms of digital innovation. But let's focus on the trends that were driven by the pandemic. Digitization especially, because as you know, previously to the pandemic, 65% of the communication was occurring on paper-based channels such as fax. This actually changed because there was a severe disruption and anxiety created among people with COVID-19, and so effective communication became one of the most critical factors for healthcare. A lot of digital solutions appear at that moment. Also, if you are considering a current moment, healthcare organizations are still on an uncharted territory to strike right balance between, I would say, transparency and security. So there were several, let's say, waivers related to new technologies such as telehealth until recent years, 2021. But afterwards, this actually, it increased, and it is crucial for healthcare organizations to keep privacy in their focus. Also, there was an increased use of mobile devices to actually look into, I would say, virtual care. Moreover, if you were looking at the current market, both providers but also payers are exploring intelligent automation use cases across different functions. We're talking about diagnostics, patient data management, interoperability. We're talking about procurement. And with COVID-19, we're even going the spectrum beyond that. We're talking about, let's say, billing, claims administration, auditing, everything, which means that right now, intelligent automation has a footprint in the entire value chain. Last but not least, we're seeing also the impact that artificial intelligence has been driving into the healthcare industry. We're seeing that AI is leading by example, especially in speeding up diagnosis, helping us to track cases, analyzing patient scans, and even actually delivering great patient experiences. So we can actually say that after several years of struggling, we're right now in an industry that initially was known for its, I would say, human touch, where digital technologies can be adopted at scale. So let's focus for a minute on the evolution of AI. If we're looking here at this study that was done by Accenture, this shows the growth of the investment done in AI market since 2014 and until 2021. If we're to, I would say, extrapolate, we are looking at a growth of 40% also over the next 5 years, which means that we are going to have AI solutions that can actually potentially create 150 billion annual savings for the healthcare industry. I would say that at this moment, and this is why we're trying to set a context of intelligent automation, there is a next normal for healthcare industry, and this involves using technologies such as RPA, intelligent automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and so on. But you may be wondering, how do we, as modern, I would say, healthcare organizations, prepare to embrace this digital transformation and an innovation culture? And this is what we are trying to tackle today. So we need to start by reflecting, where do we stand today? There are a lot of challenges, but these challenges lead to a lot of opportunities as well. For instance, we are seeing reduced funding, right? Decreasing claims, decreasing eligibility, also in costs. The opportunity is here to actually drive more revenue from small investments by using digital solutions and automation in this competitive space. Another challenge comes to, I would say, increased workload, because we have new regulatory requirements, we have a lot of backlogs, and we also have fewer workers. We're seeing a lot of layoffs due to the financial impact of COVID. We're also seeing people that are not yet attracted to follow this path. But the opportunity that resides beyond, I would say, behind those challenges, is to actually be able to deploy automation solutions to alleviate employees of mundane tasks so they can focus on more value-added ones. In this case, we are going to be able to distribute the workload even better and actually improve patient but also employee experience. We're talking about challenges related to, I would say, system integration, communication, data sharing, data collection. Why? Because all of the healthcare organizations are in general using legacy systems. And to be able to use new technologies, this is very difficult. Adoption is very slow. What is the opportunity behind it? Is to actually use automation solutions to ensure the interoperability between systems, to be able to connect different data sources that have no connection. This is actually going to improve data management, is going to ensure data segregation, data sharing, data collection, which is going to improve analysis, diagnostics, and even predictions. Least but not last, one of the main challenges that healthcare organizations are facing is related to maintaining data secure. Even if, let's say, we're using technology and we're providing this productivity increase, we are still, I would say, experiencing security issues with cyber attacks. These are not going to go away. The only opportunity that can be driven from this is to actually be able to define and use different security frameworks that will reduce that risk. This is not inevitable, but we can definitely minimize it. I would say that looking at the spectrum today, intelligent automation is providing an opportunity to drive better cost and better care outcomes like never before. And this leads us to our first key takeaway. The first step is to make sure you can understand your digital transformation barriers. Which of these are you trying to overcome? What would be the goal of your intelligent automation journey? Are you dealing with rising costs? Okay, automation can decrease those. Are you dealing with interoperability and integration challenges? Are you looking at improving your regulations? Are you looking at getting return of investment in a short time frame? What are you trying to overcome by using intelligent automation? Now, let's assume you've decided on the key parts for which you would like to apply intelligent automation. Okay, what happens next? What's the next step? The next step is to start analyzing if your organization has the digital maturity to support intelligent automation solutions. This is one of the main challenges that companies are facing. They are still not there from a digital maturity perspective. How do we do this? We start looking at what do we have in terms of technology stack? Do we accelerate technologies? Are we using the latest ones that appear on the market? Are we investing in our people and upskilling them into new technologies? Do we have an enterprise architecture that can support new technologies and also an operations center that can intake more when it comes to intelligent automation as well? Can we drive actionable insights from what we are doing and what we are going to drive with intelligent automation? Are we agile? Do we have an agile culture? Do we have a way of redesigning the workflows so we can incorporate intelligent automation solutions? This is the first step to understand your organization digital maturity. And you can, I would say, define it on each of the steps. If it's not started exploring, meaning that you've seen some benefits, but there is no clear strategy. If you're already implementing some of these, like deployed in some parts of the organization, but not across the entire organization, maybe you've already scaled. Maybe these kind of systems and this kind of mindset is already deployed across the organization. And in the end, maybe you're one of the companies that actually is recognized as a market leader when it comes to emerging technologies used in their digital stack. The second step, which is connected with your digital maturity, is related to defining your digital transformation strategy. There are 10 key steps when you're defining your digital transformation strategy, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of them. The first one is defining your operating model, defining your milestone, your deliverables, and the way of working. The second one, which is important and is going to come up later within your intelligent automation journey, is ensuring pipeline management, ensuring you have upcoming opportunities and that people are driving initiatives. Third is related to defining a governance model, which I'm going to show a little bit later. Then we're talking about implementation approach, what we are going to use and how we are going to do it. Workforce management, focus in understanding if you want to partner with a third-party vendor, if you are going to upskill your internal resources, or if you're going to outsource these services. Look all the time at the quality management and have a framework for it. The same, put in place a framework to define the performance and be able to draw insights from your intelligent automation solutions. Two other important parts are related to service support. Have a very well-defined service model for ensuring change management, incident management. And last, technologies, making sure you're selecting the right technologies for your business needs together with the integration of your existing technologies with automation solutions. As an oversight on all of this is the communication and change management framework that you would need to define for people to getting used to the idea of having an automation first mindset and thinking outside of the box and automate their mundane and repetitive tasks. It is very important when you define your digital transformation strategy to actually make sure that everybody is engaged, starting from process owners, top management, but also IT. IT plays a key role because your entire architecture is going to be built with the help of your IT department. Once you have your strategy defined, focus on the governance model. What we are trying to achieve with the governance model is to make sure we have a good way of assessing opportunities. We are incorporating all of the compliance and regulations, and we have a risk and control framework. We take into account quality assurance. We have a change and incident management procedure defined, and there is always a stakeholder engagement maintained to drive business initiatives to be able to show incremental success, and monitoring and escalation because we do need to establish measurement criteria. So with a governance model and with a digital transformation strategy, we're trying to achieve simplicity, stability, speed, and savings in the end. Where do we get that, I would say, simplicity and speed that I was mentioning about? From non-GXP processes. Why? Because the delivery lifecycle is shorter than for GXP processes, and we do not need to go to the entire validation steps. So to start with, we need to focus on the quick wins to establish a first success. Simple processes with great benefits and low complexity. Take a look first at, let's say, back office activities. These are in general industry agnostic, and there are so many opportunities in this space. Consider also focusing on customer experience improvement, because this is going to lead to better engagement, is going to lead to improved support for the automation, higher satisfaction scores, and people embracing the idea that automation is actually augmenting their value and not necessarily replacing them. Does this still sound too generic for you and not sure where to actually start from? Well, intelligent automation has the benefit of being a well-advanced domain. So you have at your disposal what we call automation heat maps. So do use them. And in case you are not familiar with what an automation heat map is, let me do a short definition for you. So imagine that automation heat maps are like a graph that lists processes within a domain area. So it's like a taxonomy, but it is highlighted to show which processes are the best candidates to automate using industry-wide references. And in general, automation heat maps are introducing guiding dimensions using 3 types of categories. It's talking about business functions, type of robots. You may have attended robots supported by humans or unattended robots that run all alone, and level of automation. So you can see if it has low potential, medium potential, or high potential. So this is actually going to be a first step to identify some spaces where processes can be with high automation potential. And I did put in several heat maps, and I wanted to show that it's not necessarily connected like this is dedicated for providers. It is not limited to providers. We have the same kind of automation heat maps in the customer space as well, and it is focusing on different activities. We can talk about customer service, we can talk about corporate functions, and they are all tagged accordingly. And even more, you can go, I would say, throughout the entire flow, like sourcing, manufacturing, distribution, delivery, and patients. Here, for instance, you have some examples where automation heat maps can be applied in research and development, and you have a specific example tagged using cognitive and intelligent automation in clinical trials, or the other way in drug manufacturing, in patient services. So there are a lot of spaces where all these potential opportunities have already been identified. So again, do encourage you to use them. And this takes us to our key takeaway number 3, which is always start small, but think big. What do I mean by starting small? Start in the areas where you can get quick wins. And the first area that comes to my mind and to everybody's mind is financial services. Focus on vendor and customer management, record to analyze activities, invoice management, billing. These opportunities are very easily to automate, and you'll find a lot of benefits driven from them. Then focus on customer services. Focus on, for instance, patient registration, remote consultations, appointment scheduling, claim processing, and maybe even the treatment cycle management. Then take a step further and focus on supply chain. So fulfillment, compliance and controls, order management, inventory management. And then when you already have a stable foundation, let's move towards, I would say, what we call a scaling automation, and look at the analytics side. So use on, I would say, document triage, fraud detection, treatment planning, predicting drug outcomes. So the overall goal when we say start small, think big is to build capability first, then accelerate to be able to scale and release value, and in the end, enhance your processes by using cognitive automation. So even if we're talking about, okay, the spectrum of, let's say, this start small, think big, we still need to take into consideration validation flow, compliance, deliverables. because robots are always going to be a part of our validation process. And one of the greatest challenges I've seen so far is related to how do we actually do validation and documentation of RPA solutions themselves. And yes, this can be done. So to be able to actually prevent, let's say, validation errors, we need to set up a structured framework of robot configuration, validation, change management, which is very important whenever we're implementing RPA solutions. How do we actually do that? So whenever we start with a validation plan and explain the desired outcome from the automation solution itself. We are going to incorporate in functional requirement specifications, details, or the process design document from the automation solution. In the design specification, we are going to incorporate the details of the solution design document we create for our automation solutions. Then keep in mind that for IQ scripts, we need to define them in advance, and we need to pay attention to the two things. We need IQ scripts for infrastructure because your intelligent automation platform needs to be GXP compliant to be able to support GXP processes. And then you need to have IQ scripts that are going to be dedicated for automation solutions. And these need to be process agnostic. They should be related only to the machines that you're going to use. Then we're stepping towards OQ scripts for process specific automation and to prepare customized, I would say, OQ and PQ protocols. Sometimes, and this is something that I've seen in recent experience, OQ and PQ can actually be combined because these are applying to the testing phase of the robot. So this is the stage where the UAT test scripts from the automation are going to be incorporated. Execution is critical for IQ, OQ, and PQ, and dedicated tools to support these are needed. Traceability matrix needs to be taken into account and updated accordingly. A validation summary report will be produced, and this can be used as a trigger for the go live production. Also, as you do have a platform, let's say an intelligent automation platform, because we decided on how to build, let's say, the strategy, the governance model, and the platform itself, you need to have a change management and incident management documentation and tools ready to actually support this. Once you're done with setting your foundation, you can focus in bringing to the table big data and cognitive automation. And why do I believe this is the next step forward? Because with big data, you can uncover hidden patterns, you can see correlations, you can see trends, you can make better decisions in healthcare. And it's not only that. If you look at the bottom, big data and cognitive automation can be found in, I would say, the entire healthcare value chain. We're talking about the step when we acquire or enroll, prevention, diagnostics, treatment, recovery, service, payment, and even discovery and enablement functions. So I would say that big data is a revolution in the making, right? It is able to allow us to optimize the growth and diagnosis. It is allowing us to implement preventive care strategies, doing analysis trends, helps to predict health outcomes, improves personalized healthcare, helps us to understand consumer but also patients. And also it is boosting healthcare marketing, and it is providing real-time alerting by using wearable devices. And least but not least, it does allow us to maintain online health records, which is avoiding staying in the lines, paperwork, patient condition deteriorating because he needs to be moved from one place to another to do the check-in and so on and so forth. So the next step is to actually focus on big data and on automation. And with that, we are at the fifth key takeaway, which is building the intelligent automation roadmap for healthcare. First, I do want to mention that it is important to educate people on digital transformation. Even if intelligent automation is straightforward, the concept can be easily misunderstood. So this needs to be settled clear from the beginning. It is important to have support and identify key stakeholders to be able to define the business objectives that are aligned with the company's objectives. And it is also extremely important to define a vision. where are we seeing each other, and the role of the intelligent automation within the organization. With that being said, you're at the step where you can actually start planning it. Define your business objectives, define the business metrics, identify the tools and the partners you would like to engage with, and define your intelligent automation strategy. Once you're done with the planning, it's time to start to analyze it. So you need to set a proper process discovery mechanism that would allow you to have a very good pipeline across the years and across the timeline when you're delivering automation. You need to be able to prioritize those opportunities based in general on business KPIs that you've previously defined throughout the planning phase. And also it is the moment when you are going to test the feasibility of the tools you've selected to see the integration with your existing systems, but also for aligning it with the business needs. What do you need them to actually produce for you? After you've done planning and analyzing, it is moment to optimize. So it is the moment when you're going to take a decision related to the vendor and the architecture setup that you want to put in place for your COE. It is the moment when you clearly define the COE governance and delivery model and the opportunities pipeline refinement method. Once you have your solid foundation, you're going to start expanding, and this happens by integrating artificial intelligence and machine learning based opportunities, and also expanding across multiple business units. Do not stay in a single department because otherwise you're going to miss a lot of good opportunities. Keep in mind that measure is something that you need to consider from stage 1 and until the end. Measure the performance and always set an improvement plan to be able to improve as you go throughout this journey. Always present and keep a transparency and visibility with all your stakeholders related to estimate versus current benefit realization. And least but not least, to be able to actually scale, you need to start a global enablement program and also start changing your infrastructure setup to be able to ensure automation at scale. The key success of scaling is to actually switch from a centralized COE model towards a federated model. And this is by, I would say, defining and identifying automation champions across different business units. So in conclusion, the foundation for growth is always having a vision, having support from top down and bottom up, and also have a clear operating model. The challenges that you may encounter related to your growth are in defining the value creation of your COE, in how do you actually show the business outcomes, and how do you ensure a healthy process intake method, your IT automation readiness in case this is not the case. So come back to the digital maturity assessment, the control frameworks that are not fully aligned with the organization strategy. But overall, these are challenges that can be mitigated if they are considered upfront. And the pathway to scale at an enterprise level is to actually focus on citizen-led automation. Just as a reminder, and I'll leave this slide on as we go through the Q&A, we need to understand the digital transformation barriers and what we are trying to achieve when we bring intelligent automation to our healthcare organization. We need to have a clear digital transformation strategy and a governance model in place that takes into consideration all of the specifics of healthcare industry. We need to start small and think big to be able to show the success of an intelligent automation program. Never forget the importance of validation and compliance throughout the entire life cycle. And last but not least, have a roadmap prepared to show your vision of how intelligent automation fits within your organization. This is it from my side. Thank you so much for having me here, and let's open it up for Q&As.
Well, Cristina, thank you so much for presenting such very in-depth processes on how to create some incredible digital transformation. So, and I like how you're gonna leave this slide up. This is, I think this right here, this is some pretty valuable takeaways for the audience, the 5-step digital transformation process that I think anyone could really implement. So thank you so much, incredible talk. Just, man, today's been a great day just to learn some new stuff about automation, transformation, and everything in healthcare. So let's jump right into the Q&A. So first question we have is, how can we identify good processes for automation in a short time frame?
I would say it all depends on what do you define as a short time frame, right? So if you're interested to, let's say, spend some 2 weeks, 4 weeks in workshops and design thinking workshops, definitely you can do that. So my suggestion is, if you want to have a quick turnaround time, get together, do some design thinking workshops, work together with the business users, and you'll definitely get out a pipeline that you can then shortlist and refine as you go through the deep evaluation of those processes. So that would be my first step. On the other hand, if you ever want to consider, I would say, the process mining approach, I would definitely encourage that, because it's going to pull the information directly from your IT systems, and it's going to show already what are the deviations from your current process and what you can actually do to optimize it, or where you can apply automation. It depends on the time frame you're considering.
Great answer. So I heard you mention design thinking workshop. Have you used design thinking workshops to identify like a digital transformation like time frame and then workload? Is that what you were saying?
Yes, so we actually do this quite frequently at the beginning before we started using process mining. We had, I would say, we use boards a lot. So we use Miro boards to do the design thinking workshops. And we have a very nice, I would say, brainstorming session. Then we have a voting session where people vote for the ideas. And in the end, we actually came down to a list and follow certain criteria for the automation processes. So we do this quite regularly when we don't necessarily use the process mining, and definitely encourage everybody to use it.
Yeah, that's great. Then just a quick question, because I'm just curious. How do you rate ideas? How do you prioritize certain ideas over other ideas?
It is also depending on the business KPIs, right? It depends what you're trying to follow. So it also starts from the business KPIs. For us, for instance, to give an example, it may be in reducing time. All right. So if it is about just reducing processing time, we're focusing on the processes that are going to do that. And we're also considering, I would say, certain criteria like repetitive processes, processes that interact with applications that are standard and are not dynamic, so they don't suffer a lot of changes. We are focusing on processes that have standard inputs, standard outputs, processes that don't suffer, I would say, changes across, let's say, 3 months, 6 months, because the investment is too much and then you need to redesign it. And we're also considering definitely volumes, but mainly it depends, and it starts with the business KPIs. That's what drives us in, I would say, prioritize them.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you rank those based on the KPIs and then start assigning maybe like a number or like a value to each idea.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I mean, this is I'm learning so much over here as the chair. So another question: what are you using for change and incident management?
Okay, there are multiple tools that you can actually use. What I'm using right now is Servicenow. So we've put in place a dedicated intelligent automation service where you have the opportunity to log in and either raise an incident or a change, and it automatically populates, let's say, certain drop downs where you have the opportunity to select for which process do you want an incident or a change to be actually raised. And also fill in the details. So with that, we have our agents. We have a support operations center in the backend that's actually picking up those tickets and replying based on the priority. So you can even prioritize them like emergency or a normal request, emergent incident, or normal incident, depending on the criticality. Because if it's impacting production, definitely it's something that's urgent from our side.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you know of any other? You said ServiceNow is what you use now. Is there any other programs or applications out there than ServiceNow?
Yes, it depends on the people and what they are using. Smart IT is also another tool that can be used. All of the tools that allow to build in services, they can be definitely adjusted to incorporate this. Nothing comes with an intelligent automation service, so you definitely need to customize it according to your needs. But if you already have, I would say, customer service, financial services in your tool, intelligent automation can be added to that particular, I would say, functionality.
Okay, awesome. Third question. So what do you consider outsource or partner with other vendors or internal upskilling? What do you think is the best approach between outsource, partner with other vendors, or internal upskilling?
I would say that it depends in your moment, in your journey in the intelligent automation. If you're beginning, I would definitely go for partnering with someone that already has the experience and can be an advisor, because this is important and you want to set the success from the beginning and build the trust with your stakeholders from the beginning. If this is a failure and you're not able to build that trust, definitely the investment is not going to come and you cannot scale your intelligent automation. So I would go for that at the beginning of the journey. Definitely throughout that time, I would definitely enhance and upskill internally to make sure that someone can support if we decide to split with the partner and take in-house moving afterwards. It is important for people to be, I would say, automation knowledgeable, so they need to know a little bit about automation, so it's good to actually provide webinars to them, trainings, and so on and so forth. And the last, with outsource, it depends on the volumes. So if, for instance, you have a pipeline like 100 processes that you're not able to actually do internally, definitely it's worth pursuing a outsource, because you can get them for, I would say, 3 months, deliver those processes, and then that is it. So it definitely depends on what you are trying to achieve. Are you at the beginning, in the middle, or do you just have a backlog that you need to solve?
Okay. Sounds like this automation, this digital transformation is extremely specific to the company and where they're at in their process. So I can see why. So you can't just like, I understand then these 5 steps then, because it's kind of you have to understand where you are at as a company within here and then how to move forward. So that's pretty genius how you've laid this out. Do you think that there is an industry or a company style that should not be digitally transformed?
It all comes back to the digital maturity, right? If the company is at a place where they cannot support intelligent automation, definitely it's not worth pursuing that path. But that doesn't mean they cannot do continuous improvement, right? So you can take one step back and move towards standardization of your processes. It's still efficiency gain, it's still a way of working, but you're not yet there with using intelligent automation or automation, right? But you can improve your processes.
Now, we had some previous speakers talk about automation and AI. So in this digital transformation, do you employ like automation techniques or maybe AI and data like analytics? I know Eric Hill and Bill Wong talked about that earlier, but in your industry of digital transformation, do you see that happening, or do you see that being the future of this digital transformation industry?
Definitely. So we're already, I would say, beyond RPA, and analytics and machine learning and big data is the next step forward. We encounter it more and more often. And I would say that right now, I don't think I have processes that are not touching the space of machine learning or artificial intelligence. Everywhere you're going to see a chatbot placed, or small classification algorithm, or anything that would support these simple automations.
Interesting. Well, Cristina, thank you so much for sharing with us. That's all the questions that we've had. Before we wrap up, is there any last minute comments or takeaways you want the audience to leave with following an incredible presentation?
No, just thank you for having me here, and do feel free to reach out in case you have any other questions or you want to come have a conversation related to these 5 key takeaways.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cristina. I've learned a lot from this session. I'm sure our audience has as well. I'm just going to wrap up today. This last session, I'm going to wrap up today for BTOES Healthcare Live 2020. So we've heard from several leaders in the industry. We started with Eric Hill, went to Bill Wong, Vatsala, I need to remember, Sada Sivan, and then right now we ended with Cristina Duta. So just do a quick recap of what we covered. Eric Hill, he was talking about RPA automation, and I just want to leave his summary with something he said, that automation would allow the healthcare workers and healthcare professionals more time to really focus on the human experience of the patient, I thought that was a valuable learning. Automation is one route to that. Bill Wong shared with us some amazing data analytics and how AI leading the future for pharmaceuticals and healthcare can really are just the future in every way. And he left with 5 main drivers of AI, and that's to improve patient experience, improve the patient outcome, accelerate research, optimize costs by reducing costs, and improve the professional experience for the healthcare workers as well. So that was Bill Wong, some incredible data analytics and data analysis. Vatsala gave us some extensive lived experience for the operational excellence in the R&D, showing 2 case studies and her 3, I believe it was original theory of how to approach operational excellence within R&D. She left us with the road to operational excellence in R&D is very young. It's more complex than manufacturing. It's highly matrix. It requires transversal collaboration to be successful. It requires an adaptation of traditional operational excellency methodologies and tools to fit the R&D processes, and it requires a cultural change within the organization. And we also just heard from Cristina, whose 5 key takeaways I will highlight. And if you're listening to this, if you're watching, you'll know exactly what I'm about to say. It's understanding the digital transformation barriers, understanding the digital transformation strategy and governance model. It's starting small and then thinking big. It's all about integration, validation, compliance, and then creating a roadmap for intelligent automation within healthcare. We've had some incredible sharings today from some leaders in the industry. Excuse me. So just to give a quick snapshot into tomorrow. Oh, just got something in my throat. Gotta drink some water really fast. So we'll be hearing from 4, again, leaders in the industry. How many times can I say that, right? So starting off today will be Abdullah Birdsong, Director in Business Modeling and Transformation Leader at Novant Health. Abdullah will share the 4 key takeaways of utilizing business capability models in healthcare to drive transformative value delivery. After him will come Marcos Paganini. Ooh, excuse me, I'm struggling over here. VP of Global Make Strategy and Deployment at J&J. Always have a glass of water nearby. And after Marcos will come Swadeep Singh, Director of Data Science at United Health. And then after that will be Laura Burnside. Woo, I am struggling, guys. Oh, something's in my throat. Oh, this is a great way to finish the session. So we will be seeing you guys tomorrow at 8:50, and we go over these wonderful sessions for the day. With that, I will thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you tomorrow.